Morning. Duck. Thursday. Hasn't. We've last 2 days have been by mental. At some point, probably find its own round, its own zone. The Wacky Thursday. Whatever. Given some into that. Concept of it is it's a low morning show by finish out the 6 all of those. I don't know. I'm gonna play it by ear, so I'm gonna leave because we're probably not. We're at the point now where I'm waking up without my massive amounts of quality things like that. But it does get there by the time I do. So I don't think that like 4 hours of solo stream probably the best plan. Covering yeah, I just have to lean somewhat in letting he by the amount talking is the job where I'm here at the store conversation my mic probably is cutting out. Thank you. No, that was me. He had everything turned off after shows last night and forgot to turn things back on. Should be better now. But yeah. All that saying that like probably won't be doing some 64 stuff today. Wanted to still do this. And should be on track to be able to do some streaming tonight and stuff too. But there's no world probably in which I do 4 hours of solo streaming this morning that is then followed by me streaming tonight and then streaming again tomorrow morning and then doing a Whatnot live show Saturday night. What's up, Mello? 64 yes. It just that's probably not, so we'll probably baby steps back into the schedule and then hopefully be completely back on track by next week. And I'm already feeling a lot better, and Selena is very smart, and I was kind of fighting it. But she kind of pointed out that I would probably be there if I wasn't moving my jaw the amount that I'm moving it already. If I was resting it, like I didn't do any streams last week on Thursday and Friday. We did do a Whatnot live comic sale Saturday night, and financially that was the correct decision for us and our various businesses. But healing wise, that probably wasn't the right decision. We did a live comic sale on Facebook last night, and again, financially and those things, that was probably the correct decision, but healing wise was probably not. And it was harder to tell when I was earlier in it because just everything hurt all the time anyways. But it's interesting now because it's just really frustrating because it's that one of those many moments in which Selena's right, and then you find that out over time. And then that's annoying. But it's now I wake up and there's like no pain. And that's awesome. That means we're healing, that means we're moving in the right direction. But as soon as I start doing stuff like this, the pain is there, and it's like, oh fuck, she was right about it. Now that there's that distance you can measure, now you can tell she was correct. And so that that means that I probably wouldn't be here. Yay, no pain. I spoke too soon. Yeah. That means we probably wouldn't be here. We'd probably be past it if I was resting like I should be. Sim said stop talking, type in a notepad, doc for stream. Well, that's the thing is, like, you have to balance all these things out and stuff too. Like, it's I really enjoy doing this stuff. So on some level, you have to still do the things that bring you joy. And then, as Sam pointed out up there too, I'm ready to not stress about finances constantly and just be able to rest when we need it. Yeah, it's like on top of the things that spark joy and bring me joy, there's also just the nature of, like, this is how I make money. This is how I get, and not well. It's not like I make money well, but I don't know how to make money any other way. So, Sam said, I can't remember if you were there yesterday when it happened. We hit the charity goal, so I have to do Deathless Hollow Knight soon. That's awesome. I know you're getting close. Like last I was on there, you were like 40 away. And it was Wednesday, so we had money coming in. And there was a brief moment that I was like, I'm just hit this 40. Just send the. I was like, Selena will kill me. I was like, I'll do 10. I'll send 10 this way, but Sam says, oh, that was the second goal that got hit too. Oh, awesome. Yeah, congrats. Also, good work. Thank you for doing charity work. I really appreciate you. It's really kind of like put us in a weird spot, because it's like we definitely met you coming off the heels of doing a number of 24-hour streams and things like that, but they were largely like, yeah, give needy kids money. Give our needy kids money. We did a lot of like, hey, save the store 24-hour streams. We did a lot of like things in which we were just basically doing the kinds of crazy good work you do for charity, but the charity was us. And it's meeting you has thrown a lot of that into perspective of just like, I don't want to do stuff like that again. Probably it was very necessary and important at the time, but it's I'd feel like kind of an asshole like doing like there's a version of Jeff on Twitch that doesn't bump into Sam early, that probably turns into like one of those like, all right guys, we're doing a subathon. Like we're trying to get as many sub. Let's go. Sam says, dude, I have to focus on charity right now. The world is giving me zero hope for a future. Don't trying to be all doom and gloom, but if you don't focus on good, I really don't want to live right now. Hope that makes it. Yeah, that makes complete sense. I don't think it's fair to compare us like that. No, I'm not even comparing. I'm just saying like the people we meet shape our perspective and how we view things and how we look at things and how we approach the world, and what is and isn't Twitch etiquette, and what like is all this say. It's like I'm hopefully we're in a point where like I don't know, it's in that tough thing where it's like I don't ever want to appear like I'm like begging for money in any way, shape, or form in any of the things that I do. And when things are just working, like, hey guys, we got a live sale, and people are like just buying comics, or when they're just working where it's like, hey guys, new comic day, and people are walking in and buying comic, things are just working. It's nice because it's like you can completely take your foot off the pedal of just like I make money because you spend money. Give me money, please. Like you could just like be like, I don't want to touch that pedal, like because it feels gross. I don't want to ever. I hate money. I hate that. But like all of this stuff for this apparatus, and like this weird thing of almost jobs I've cobbled together all involve like people that actually work hard for their money handing it over to me, often for cool stuff, but like it's still this very like weird like existence. And it's a weird thing to wrap your head around, and it feels I'm this pastor's kid who like ran away from that life only to find myself in a weird nerdy version of that life sometimes, where it feels like I only exist because these people want this nerd church to exist. It's very weird. Sam says, I don't have much to offer the world, but I try to pay the kindness I've been given forward. And the best way I have found that is through charity events. Doesn't mean every streamer needs to be like me. I don't want to be anyone's role model. No one wants to be anyone's role model. Everyone is some amount of people's role model. Sam says, I also hate money. I feel that hard. Yeah. It's a weird thing. And then this has been an interesting couple of transition years, because now that I have Selena that I am responsible to take care of, and I've always had the kids, but they are more or less more taken care of by their mom has a real job. So, but like I am now at a point though where I'm looking at them too, and like how I've put way too much pressure on her to take care of them financially and stuff. To the point that like I'm starting to look at it all differently. Whereas like 5 years ago, it was like, nah, man, it's like it's all for the comic store, and that's like the thing that is like the end all be all. And now I'm kind of stepping back and look at it and be like, I need to. It's hard because as someone, Mela says, yes, money is a pain, but we need to eat. Yes, I think I am for the first time in my life, extending that definition of what needing to eat is and stretching it to a point that younger Jeff would have seen as like decadent. Hitting these like this dental problems and not being in a position where I could take care of it, and having to have someone. Luckily, I had a friend who stepped up and paid for it, but like that's yet another person I owe money to now. And if anything, I would like to be the person that's on the other side of that equation, I think. And I think I'm starting to change my definition of eating to being more like, how do I get myself into a position where I can actually take care of the people around me, as opposed to being the person who's constantly just like, all right, how we figuring this one out? How we putting out this fire with a dry hose? Like that's been my constant existence, and it's been, I've had like this, like almost this nobility to my poverty, because I don't like money, and so much of my existence is, I sell things that people inherently don't need. And they, it's the thing that I'm always very cognizant of, like people go and spend, 40, 50, 60 hours in a hot, sweaty factory so that I can sit there and be like, comic books, I made a rap this week. Here you go. Like it's, and they're coming in with their money. And so like, I've always been very cognizant of that. And I there has been like a nobility I felt to keeping things low. And the last time we were, making money very well at the comic shop, that's why I hired on a lot of people. And it was like, I made basically like $13 an hour so that we could have like 5 other people working there, because I was like, what am I going to do? Take all this money? Like that's silly. And like, that's not how I would approach it now, which is weird. Good morning, Shiki. Sam said, I wouldn't say people don't need it. Like, you have to have things to enjoy life, or it's not worth living. Some people, that joy comes from comics. Yes. And I think, I was talking to someone last night or about it, and it's like, also, it's just, some of it's just physical media in general. There is, like, I think, an importance. That's what I'm saying. As much as I'm like downplaying the comic shop and what I do, there's this other piece of it where it's like I overinflate it, and it's the 2 H's that will haunt you for the rest of your life. Like especially which with Shiki entering the chat, it's like I first heard this with an approach to writing. That it's very hard. You have to constantly balance the 2 H's of humility and hubris. And you need some of both, and you can easily fuck up in either direction. But like with the like knowing that I could fuck up in the hubris direction, I'm very cognizant of that. That said, there is some importance to archival stuff. It's like there's a lot of things over the years that probably would have gotten tossed and thrown away, that because my comic shop exists, like instead have found homes. And as someone who likes stuff and thinks stuff is important more than the average person probably does, Um, that's cool. The problem is baked into the other weird thing you have to balance is someone who loves stuff and likes stuff and thinks stuff is cool, and stuff was there for me when like like when I was a kid and I didn't have maybe a lot of the other things that other kids get from like familial attachment and stuff like that, and I had stuff, right? I love stuff, but stuff is also tied up into this capitalistic nightmare that is ruining all of our lives systematically. So, what do you do with that? Baked into the job of a job of running a comic shop is the fact that like, hey, there's new comics that come out every week, and sometimes it's like, oh shit, cool. Look at this beautiful, amazing art that I get to help curate out into the world. But sometimes it's like, hey, these massive corporations printed this paper. Please sling this paper. Like, sometimes that's my job, and that's gross. And so, how do you balance those things too? It's a weird existence we're asked to lead right now. Shiki said, I read an Am I the Asshole post today that made me want to find the person and choke them. That's most of them. What was the reason why in this one? Sam said, I think my hubris is broken. I think the economic state of the world is going to make everyone reevaluate what is important to keep going on. And I think the only way we get through it as communities taking care of each other. I like that, and I hope that's true. It's weird because, like, I definitely like there is this definite weird existence of like and people, I lived through 9/11, but I was in 7th or 8th grade, right? And people talk about 9/11 that way. But COVID is this very interesting thing because it was so prolonged. It wasn't like a day. But there is definitely an existence pre-COVID and an existence post-COVID. But there was this elongated period in the middle that was just COVID is happening, right? And we are definitely not in that anymore. We are not living in the world of 2020 and 2021. We are living in this thing though that is definitely not 2019 either. And the things you're talking about, Sam, I thought coming out of that we were going to it really felt like labor was starting to like really take a lot of power back that I've not seen labor have since 2007. And it really, really felt like it was this moment that things were like suddenly kind of spurring in the right direction. In a lot of cases, because like they had to figure out they had to pay people to stay home, and when they paid people to stay home for the first time in people's lives, their bills were all covered. Everyone became kind of high functioning because it's like they suddenly didn't have to worry about their car getting repoed or their house getting foreclosed on or their whatever. They just had it covered. And then they had like still money to do other stuff. They had I can't tell you how many people I know that have never had a robust savings account that had a savings account at that time. And so like coming out of it, you had a lot of people go like, no, I'm not going to go do that for $10 an hour because I now know what it feels like to get paid what you're getting paid. So fuck that. And it really felt like we were starting to take some power back in some ways that were like really good and helpful. And the other thing that simultaneously happened And it's like that they always wanted to paint over with the whole people don't want to work narrative. Is like a lot of people died. A lot of people died. A lot of people died. A lot of people retired. Like if you were anywhere close to retiring in 2020, you retired. Like you're not gonna like that. So like a lot of people left the workforce, and then the workforce that was there was like, you know what? Nah. Um, Sam said, but corporations lose budget if they don't have to pay for offices. Yeah, yeah. Sam said, I think a lot of that is happening. People are furious at what's been going on, and they have seen the effects of their united voices. Yeah, but we're at this weird spot right now where, and you know, it's always like always seems darkest before the dawn, right? Like it feels, I think, very hopeless and very rough and very disjointed, and it sucks. And I get it. I'm with Sam. I do think something fundamentally changed though in 2020, and it's just the fight is taking a lot longer than we would want or hope for. But I still see as people, you know, it's myself included. By the traditional scripts of life and everything else, I should have dropped everything and gone and given all this up. I don't know about this specifically because this is probably weirdly, you know, I approach it like work, but it's still in a hobby category because it doesn't really pay bills, right? But like, and things like the comic shop, which like kind of almost paid bills and did pay bills for a while, right? Through the traditional laws of capitalism, I should have shut that thing down, and I should have gone and took the kicks in the face and gone and just like worked at a factory or worked at a fast food place and like just done that. And that's probably what I would have done or how I would have handled it for the majority of my life. I instead looked at it and went, okay, yeah, I'll go work at Wendy's if you make me the store manager of Wendy's. To which they said no. Several times, by the way. But like that was my thing. I was like, I'll fold all this up but like you're gonna pay me what I feel like enough dollars to make me not feel bad about giving up the freedom that I have right now. And that was my approach to the entire job market. I had a lot of interviews, and I thought I was going to come out of the interview process and be like, well, guys, you know, sorry, we're going to have to wind down the comic shop and do that. But like, there was no one out there that was willing to pay me what I was willing to get paid to like live with shutting everything down. And it wasn't even like I was asking for the world. Often I was asking for like the salary that was there, and a lot of those positions, looking at them, are still not filled or the place shut down. that Wendy's that was by my house was like, we need a store manager for $50,000 a year. I was like, all right, cool. I have restaurant experience. I have now, you know, running a whole business experience. It's a store manager job. I'll take it. So I applied for it. Didn't get it. They re-advertised the position at $60,000 a year. So I was like, cool. I reapplied. Didn't get it. They did this, I don't know how many times. Had that Wendy's with no store manager. That everything kept getting worse. We used to like go through there quite a bit, and they didn't have a store manager. So like it kept getting worse and kept getting worse. And I applied every step of the ladder up to like, they're like, okay, $100,000 for a store manager, and I was like, here you go. And they didn't hire me or anybody. And then they ended up closing that Wendy's because it was a hot mess. And the company was like, oh, this place is losing money. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was. Um, Sam says, nothing worth anything ever comes easily, in my opinion. I think that's abundantly true. Cheeky says the girl asked if she was the asshole because she accidentally woke her boyfriend up. She has super bad anxiety and can't sleep sometimes, and she had like a panic attack and cried and got up, collected herself, and got back in bed and woke him on accident. He told her to stop being a little bitch baby and go to sleep. And then the next day tried to make her feel bad for smacking his hand away in her sleep, but not sorry for saying what he did. That's fucking insane. For a second there, I was like, in a weird, like, oh my god, did Selena write Am I the asshole? But I would never, in any context, call anyone a little bit. That's fucking insane. We do have this struggle, whereas, like, Sleepy Jeff is an asshole. Like, an absolute, like, asleep Jeff who is, like, roused is just, like, his entire mission is to stay asleep. And it's just like, it's just grumpy. It's been that way since I've been a little kid. And so sometimes Selena will wake up and need me in the middle of the night, and then I just wake up in a fight because it's like I've said and done things for 5-10 minutes that I'm not even. There's an autopilot on that's just like, stay asleep, fight to stay asleep, and then I wake up having. I've never would in my life use the words little bitch baby, but like I'm definitely not my best self. Shiki says apparently he doesn't believe that she has sleeping problems and tells her she's a liar. Okay, it infuriated me because I've dealt with that, so I'm glad I have Sam who cares and checks on me instead of guilty me and saying I'm a liar. Sam says what the fuck, they need to break up. Sam says, if I ever call you a little bitch baby, please slap the taste out of my mouth. That's such a horrible thing to say to your partner who's clearly going through something. Yeah. Sam said a lot of corporations are doing fake job listings too. Yeah, a lot of corporations are doing fake job listings and fake interviews. So I applied for a bunch of, again, and people think I'm crazy, but I had a dollar amount that I was just like, this is where it's worth it to me to like work for someone else, and that's I think that's a way to approach things. Other people thought I'm crazy, again, that are playing off the typical script of like, you should go out and just like get a regular ass job. Weirdly, I've been thinking about it during the Dork Duck era, just because I really like doing this, and I really like writing, and I'm not writing at all, and so it's like, could I go do something and just like, but then it's just like I feel like I'm letting a lot of people down if I let the comic store go. So it's there's a lot going on up here. But I interviewed for Kroger. For in that I interviewed like 3 times. And I applied for store manager jobs and assistant manager jobs. I got eliminated from the assistant store manager jobs, but then for the store manager jobs, like they really liked my resume, but they were like, you know what, you're I don't think you're ready quite yet for the store manager position. We'd love to put you in assistant store manager spot. That sounds great, because it still fit in my purview. And also, I had already applied for that and been eliminated by whatever stupid algorithm was eliminating stuff over there. So, it's fine. So, like, then I interviewed for assistant store manager at and I didn't interview anywhere around here. It was like I had to do virtual interviews with like the National Kroger HR down in Texas. And I would interview, and then nothing would happen. And then one of the spots that I was supposedly interviewing to get placed at, Andrew actually knew the guy who was the store manager there. And so Andrew's like, I'll reach out. And so Andrew reached out to the guy, and the guy was like just livid. He's been running that store without an assistant store manager for like 2 or 3 years. They won't hire anybody as his assistant store manager. They keep saying they can't find anybody, but they won't involve him in the hiring process at all. So he's not allowed to look at any applications. He's not allowed to interview any people for his store that he's running. It's all being farmed out to fucking Texas, where they're just like, not good enough, because they don't want to fill the position. But they can pay these HR people to hold all these interviews and pat themselves on the back, and like, meanwhile, the people actually running the stores are suffering. It's insane. Sam said, if you haven't gone down the ghost job listing rabbit hole, it's insane and should be illegal. I agree. I've never gone down the rabbit hole itself, but it's bad. Cheeky says, I'm grumpy when I wake up. I have big sleep problems, and my body does not want to wake up. Like I have a rice bitch face and basically grunt. But I'm not mean. Even when I know I have hardly slept and will be agony for waking up, dude needs to grow up. Yeah. I think you meant resting love. I like rice. I don't like that rice bitch face seemed vaguely racist, but outside of that, it was very descriptive. Like I enjoyed it. Mel says, took me from September till coming up to get a half decent job. Yeah, it's rough. I spent an entire year on it, and then I just hit a point of like, I could have been putting that time into the comic shop, because I had to keep taking time off for interviews and stuff. It felt like weeks ago, though. Time doesn't exist when my brain is sad. Sorry. I found something, but they put off my starting date for a month. Okay. Well, I'm glad you found something. She said, sorry, active bitch face. Right. Sam said, DeMel, I'm glad you found something, dude. Hope it works well. Yeah. Me too. What a weird capitalistic nightmare we have to all navigate together. I do think, and like I said, it does feel like things are getting slightly better. I was having that conversation with Andrew last week. Is that, there's a reason that you have worried Republicans coming out right now and being like, hey guys, the last time we did these things, we didn't win an election for 60 years. I do think people are going to be galvanized into action in a way that is going to be helpful and good for humanity in the long term. Unfortunately, like when you study history, it's a lot of this. It's a lot of like, 10 steps forward, 8 steps back, and that always feels horrible. But it's important to remember that when you look at time in centuries, there is progression. It is just very depressing because it is often 10 steps forward, 8 steps back. And when you're on one of those 8 steps back swings, man, shit does not feel good. And shit feels pretty hopeless. But that net 2 steps forward is still a big fucking deal. Because there was people that suffered before that didn't have that. And so I do think we are not moving in the right direction currently if you have a very like narrow view of it, but everything slingshots, and we're setting up for a pretty big slingshot, I think, right now into some good and better times. Sam says, but together is how humanity survives this. 100%. I think you have just what happens too is you have a whole generation that sees the Holocaust and is like, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay. Like, we what the ever loving fuck. Okay. And then they have kids, and their kids they're like, okay, go, let me tell you about this thing that fucking went down. And this happened, and this happened, and then 20 years later, we fought for civil rights, and then they like fucking shot him, and like this is but like, listen, like, this is what we're fighting for, this is what's important, and the kids are like, okay, oh shit, all right, and then they have kids, and it's like the game of telephone where they're like, I don't know, this shit's important. Like, it starts to lose its urgency, and it's like what's the word, like the where it feels real, like that starts to dissipate as you get a bunch of layers down in the telephone, and it's like there's a person to a person to a person to a person that's like, yo, fire is hot, and it burns you when you touch it, and then you start getting a bunch of people that have grown up in a world where they've only had this abstract idea of fire being hot, and then they're kind of like, I don't know, is fire hot? And then there's like these dudes on microphones on the internet that are like, you know what, fire's not that hot. Is fire, did fire ever really happen? And then before I tell you about how fire's all fake, let me tell you about Squarespace. Do you want to start a website? And that's then going in their ear holes. And then when they're out at a bar with their buddies, if they're like, guys, I think fire's really hot, it doesn't like do any kind of actual like help for them socially, but if they're like, ha ha ha, you should step in the fire, everybody laughs, and then they're like, yeah, fire's maybe not that big of a deal, right? And then you just have that, and then it's like, and then you get a generation that starts playing with fire again, and then some of those consequences start happening again, and then it feels real, and then when things feel real, they feel more actionable, and it's unfortunate. But it is baked into human nature, and I don't want any of that to be true. It's just, it tends to be how people react. Shiki and I have had a lot of conversations about, because we approach watching media as writers. I think we share that, and it's funny how often I will watch things where like the characters do dumb shit or shit that like a lot of us say we wouldn't do, but we're also not in that situation. So and you'll read the discourse on the internet just being like, and it's like there has always been a friction and a difference between who we want to be as humanity and who we actually are as humanity. And I don't think cynicism is the answer. I don't think the answer is to be like, actually, we are toxic, terrible, the worst, we'll destroy each other. I'm not getting Cormac McCarthy on you, and refuse to. That said, I kind of view it in this way that is like messy, and I think on the whole, people are good. I think people are kind. I think quite often a person is not, and I think quite often a scared person is not. But I think on the whole, humanity has, humanity as a whole is a cart that has a wheel that pulls in the right direction. And I think quite often humans individually have a cart that pulls in the wrong one, and there's friction there and there's messiness there. But I'm pretty optimistic. I still think we are slowly moving towards the Star Trek future. Sam says, as a pyro, did I ever stop playing with fire? Probably not. I don't know. I don't know your day to day. I don't know what you're getting up to. You know, Sam says he's out there gardening. Maybe he's out there starting fires. Cheeks says being a writer in this current world state is hard. I get that. Sam says, I think my cart has 2 broken wheels. Like in both directions. Like, it's just like, I truly don't think cynicism is the answer. I think a lot of people that want to sell you things want it to be. And I think there is some comfort we feel in being that cynical of just like, yeah, everything's fucked. It's an answer that we can kind of wrap our head around, and it's an easier answer than, hey, everything's messy and everything's always a mix of both. And the point is to make the positive stuff outweigh the negative stuff as best as you can. And that's messy, hard work. It as Jon Stewart often says, like, making these changes we need to make in society is real lunch pail work. It's not easy. It's not something you can do from a keyboard. It's not something you can do sitting behind a microphone. It is stuff you have to get out there and get your hands dirty and work. But it is possible, and nobody gets to get 100% what they want out of life, and nobody gets to never have to talk to someone that has a bad take if they want to get stuff done. It's tough. It's real tough. But Shiki says, I need to remember to cut some onions from the garden today. I meant to the other day. They're so big now. I need to garden, period. I think it's hard. Like, we have snow on the ground right now. It snowed last night. So we have such a much narrower window to garden than I think people in other states. Like, it's really like there's snow on the ground right now, but you still should be probably doing prep work. I'm not good at this stuff, and I need to learn because I need to be more self-sustaining than I am. But we have a pretty big backyard, so we have plenty of space to garden. I just don't know how to. That is not within my skill set naturally. It would take me a lot of work to become a gardener. But yeah, so we have a pretty narrow window, but you have to be thinking and planning at this point still when there's snow on the ground, and then getting ready to plant, and then getting ready to plant hardiness is different. Look up your hardiness zone. See, this is all foreign things to me. I don't know how any of this works. It says, I don't know how gardening goes that far north, but here you don't plant till after the last freeze. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like that's a real tricky bit. The Google machine, yeah, I will do that later. I've been surrounded by people who are better at gardening stuff than me, and so I've kind of always just been like, hey, you guys should garden. Here's a yard. You can utilize my yard. Go do it. Go garden. And it's I've learned now. However, I've been in this house for 10 years. I'm at a point now where it's like, oh, that's not going to happen unless I do it. Okay. Sam said there are semi-horizontal lines that go across the country based mostly on heat, like we are zone 7.5 or 7 point B, I think. Okay, so there's like different plants you can grow based on what temperate zone you're in. That makes sense. You're 4 or 5. Okay. I think people grow a lot of stuff here, and then my when I was growing up, there was a when I was in the parsonage, the like house that is the house that was right across from Vince's house, and it was the parsonage for the church, and there was a pretty robust garden in the back that connected to the garden in the neighbor's yard. So it was like it ran between both. And what happened is like over the years is there was like no pastor at times, so nobody in the house, or like pastor in the house, the neighbor lady would just be like, are you going to utilize that garden space, or do you guys mind if I do it and just give you stuff out of it? And my parents were like, we're not going to garden. So yeah, we'll take the stuff. And so I grew up just with a very well-maintained garden in my backyard and all the stuff from it all the time. But that was all, someone else is doing. And she had corn and she had tomatoes and she had all sorts of stuff, and dealt with me and my dumb little kid ass running through there and probably causing problems all the time. But it like wasn't technically her land. So what is she going to do? I'm sure she would like find action figures or something. Like, what the fuck? Like, there's corn, like, there's lots of corn around here, like farmer wise, but she would straight up just like have corn back there. And so it's doable. Mel says I never liked yard work and stuff like that. See, that's the thing, is I always do when I actually make time to get out there and do stuff like that. It's just I don't have a lot of free time. I would have to make the time and really change a lot. And I'm with you, Mello. It's like my initial reaction is like outdoors, sunshine. I always feel better after I go out there and do stuff in the yard. It's getting out there, getting that kind of work done. I always feel really good afterwards. I never want to do it. Same as gardening is therapy for me. Yeah. Mela says my father made me, but not my favorite. So like that's, I think that is, my father made me too. And that's like part of the initial resistance that I have towards it. But once I like get out there and actually do things for myself, like I'm always just like, man, I'm glad I did. Like I always feel good inside. You sent me my zone map. Okay. I'll look at that sometime. My ability to accidentally dock myself is real high right now. So like, I'm at least not on the Vicodin anymore. That was the first stream I let myself be in was Sam's Sunday morning. And I felt so bad because there's someone who always hangs out and predominantly usually hangs out Sunday mornings, which is like the one stream of Sam's I try to like never miss is that one. And don't do that for Sam. I do that for me. It is nice to have like I've established that as like a boundary of just like, that's easy to maintain because 99 times out of 100 everybody else in the house is asleep. So I get up and I watch that, and that was my first stream I was back in. And there's someone who always hangs out there, who I'll refer to as Flower, but her username is like Common Flower Girl, and it has happened a number of times over the year and change I've been hanging out. Someone will call her Common, right? And then she'll be like, you can call me Flower Girl, any of that. Common's a little weird, right? Happens all the time. And then I went to tag her on Sunday, and then my Vicodin riddled ass didn't and just said common. And I know the second that I saw it pop up on the screen, I was like, I just did the thing. To which she like had to be like, hey man, like call me flower. And I was like, I know. But now if I explain that I know, I am like, because I went to tag her and I thought I hit the at, but I didn't hit the at. And so I just said common. Because Vicodin brain. And now I can't explain. Like, I'm sure if I explained it, it'd be fine, but I was just like, what the fuck? So, like, that was shit like that was the main reason I was just like gone. Because, like, actually, I would have like super enjoyed hanging out, but I was typing some weird things. Like, I kept texting Selena, and Selena would be like, what? And then I would look back at what I said. I'd be like, okay, that's not what I meant at all. At one point, I told her she should eBay some pizza. I forget what that was supposed to say, but it definitely wasn't supposed to say eBay. Sam says at least you didn't call her Aerith. She said someone called her that once, assuming her name is the FF7 reference, which is not at all. Shiki says, I mean, Common is a pretty talented artist. Yeah, so like, and that's like, that wasn't that big of a faux pas, but that was a faux pas that happened because of the Vicodin. I don't know how people, like, because I was on a low dose, and I don't know how people function on that on like a daily, day-to-day basis and survive. But that's that was the faux pas that I made, was that one. And I was just worried what a Vicodin riddle Jeff in streams was going to look like. Sam said medicated Jeff almost had me call her Common Flower Girl. Yeah, I felt bad. But like, and that's not even that bad of a faux pas. She wasn't mad, right? But it's like, it's those times where you're like, you're making a faux pas that you know, and you're like watching it happen in real time, and you can't get it back, and like it could have been way worse, you know. So, I was like, that was weird. I almost said your whole name. Anyways, Flower. I felt so bad. I was like, we've had so many conversations about King's Quest. I know. But then, yeah, it's like those fun social faux pas. What do you do after the fact? Because anything you do just looks like, yeah, okay. It looks like you're not taking that information gracefully. Like if you start going like, no, I know, like, yeah. That was Vicodin Riddle Jeffrey though. It was a time, and I've also been an asshole. I feel so bad for Selena. I'm surprised she's still here. It's bad. To mouth pain, Jeff. It's been a thing. Of I've gotten so grumpy. I think just in my daily day-to-day demeanor, it's weird. But then it's like, it's been especially clear, like as I've had the face pain thing going on. This is Lena's a good bean. We appreciate her. Yeah, I appreciate the fuck out of her too. I think if I ever have to have surgery again, though, I'm just gonna like send her away somewhere for a week. She doesn't deserve. Like, I'm just grumpy. I'm grumpy if I'm not, like, I'm not gonna do the things that I'm supposed to do, and then I'm gonna end up in more pain for that I like. That's my own damn fault, and so I'm not gonna like listen to someone like gently trying to like help me do the right things and take care of myself better. And so I'm gonna be grumpy if I'm not doing the things that I want to be doing, but I'm gonna be grumpy if I'm doing the things. I'm just grumpy. It's weird. Shiki says you better cut that shit out because I physically fight. I've deserved it this week. Sam says I doubt she'll let you, and then Shiki is going to kick your ass, so you will be in even more pain. Yes. That's what I was saying. Like that, she should just like have a vacation for a week next time, and I can be my grumpy self, but where I can't hurt others by being grumpy. Because it's not like it's like I wake up in the morning and it's like, nah, not those pants. I'm going to put on the grumpy pants. It doesn't feel like a decision I have ownership in. After the fact, it's easy to be like, wow, why was I such a grump? But she just give her a spray bottle. She could spray you every time you're a jerk. Yeah, maybe that might be necessary. Sam says grumpy pants are comfy pants, though. Potentially. Bad jumps. Yeah. Bear mace. It was kind of that bad. I did okay the first. Okay, so like, then emo means something. I did okay-ish the first day. Bad Sam. Go spray Sam with a spray bottle. So the first day I drank lots of White Claw and took medications. And then everyone in the house was mad at me for drinking all the White Claw. But like that was I had a good day that day. No one was mad. No one was like, "Man, you're grumpy." That day, they were just like, "Why you shouldn't do this." I thought it was a solid post-surgery plan. Cheeky said, "For fuck's sake, Jeff, you're not supposed to drink and take main meds." I have still a relatively young liver, and I was a good little pastor's boy for the first 2 decades of my life. So, it's like I have a younger liver than most. So it's that third decade, I put in some time. I tried to make up for some lost time, but then these days I don't drink anymore. I don't drink. I don't smoke weed. I definitely used to. But these days I just kind of don't. It's like my day-to-day existence I'm pretty good with, and I don't like being fucked up in the way that I used to not only like being, but like required being to get through my day-to-day existence. And it's like I have a partner that I really love and love spending time with, and I'm not usually looking to like augment that. And I do work that I really enjoy and I want to be like on and present for, and I'm not looking to augment that. So my liver doesn't go through too much these days. And so that's, yeah, I was going to, if I'm going to be doing, and I'm aware from the time in my 20s that there's a lot of things like that they say you shouldn't do, but I have done and like experienced and in sometimes recreational ways, and like I knew that was going to be the way that I was going to feel okay that day. And I was pretty careful. It just, again, it's like a lot of things in my life. It didn't plug into the usual recommended thing. And so people looked at it and they were like, that's not, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing what works for me. Also, see Novocaine, good movie. That's where is that Steve Martin? That's Steve Martin, right? I think that one's, or is that a different? That's a different movie. Are you talking about the one from this year? There's a Jack Quaid movie from this year called Novocaine, but I'm pretty sure there's a Steve Martin one. The one from this year. Okay. Yeah, there's a 2001 Steve Martin film called Novocaine that it's weirdly one of the few Steve Martin films I've not seen, and it's because I went to see it, like not like in theaters, but like it got turned on in a house I was in. It came out in 2001, so would have been on VHS by like 2002, which I was like 12. And there's a boob on screen very early in the film. Which doesn't really fit into a, for what I understand, like it's just one of those like random, like even the person turning on the film was like oh, I forgot that's was in there. And it was one of my sisters was like, turn that off, you can't be watching this. The guy from the Amazon superhero show, yeah, Jack Quaid. He's also in Companion, Jack Quaid is, which is fucking incredible. I like that movie a lot. Should I watch the Steve Martin Novocaine? It has a Danny Elfman score I don't know. I might just listen to the score. At some point I'll watch the film, I'm sure, but I don't know that I need it. But like, I need another Danny Elfman score in my life. Most of I saw Companion 2. I loved that movie. Shiki hasn't seen it yet, so be very careful how you talk about it. But that Companion, it's one of my favorite movies in a while. I'll probably see Novocaine, the new Novocaine as well. I don't know that the 2001 film is something I'm going to rush to. Seen as it did very well, or it did very poorly, and doesn't seem like it's been one of those that people have been like, no, man. Does David Atkins not is written and directed by David Atkins? Does he not have a Wikipedia page? Is it that bad? Yeah, he doesn't even he has an IMDb page. Yeah, basically that's the only film he ever directed, and then he directed episodes of a TV show in 2010 called The Horrible, Terrible Misadventures of David Atkins. So he named a whole show after himself. Oh, he plays himself in it too. This looks miserable. This looks like I'm an angry dude who was supposed to make it and I didn't make it, and I'm making a whole project about it. David Atkins is a once successful writer director who, I don't know that you were once successful, man. You don't even have a Wikipedia page. Ooh, buddy. Power was wasted on men for so many years. But he made a movie with Steve Martin in it. He did. That's not considered good. So that so many people have forgotten that, 24 years, I guess 24 years is a long time, but still 24 years later, they're just like, call something else that. It's fine. No one cares. There will be one guy wearing a silly hat in Michigan that's going to be like, which Novocaine are you talking about? Yeah. Yeah. I hate time too, Shiki. Speaking of which, next week I turn 38. It's happening. It's happening on a Wednesday. We're gonna do the big birthday stream on Tuesday night though, because Wednesday I sell comic books, and at some point whilst we are streaming, we're gonna run with the basic concept of, hey, we're gonna go, 8 to midnight, but at some point in there, at midnight it becomes my birthday. That'll be the big birthday stream. I don't know what we're playing yet. I kind of enjoyed the idea of maybe doing Quest for Glory, because we started that on my birthday last year, and what if we moved it another like 6 inches? What is the slowest playthrough ever of Quest for Glory? It's just like once a year. Yeah, Burger says Taco Tuesday. Yeah, it's my birthday eve on Tuesday. And this Taco Tuesday was fun because we have friends that we do Taco Tuesday every other Tuesday, and I got there and I was like, I can't and don't want to eat any of those, but I will take all the dollar beers, please and thank you. Shiki says, I think I'm going to see if Sam and I can get the camera set up so I can do a coloring stream for my celebration. That would be amazing. Yeah, coloring streams are good. I've wanted Shiki coloring streams ever since I heard it mentioned randomly in an old VOD. I think Sam was playing like Final Fantasy 1 and he was talking about how fun your coloring stream was, and I was like, coloring streams? That sounds great. I think it'll be like 4 hours, gonna go long because woo, yeah. That's like, are you talking about in like August? I'm trying to remember. I think Sam's in July, you're in August. You guys are like Selena and I, you guys have a month apart. We get it to work, it'll be a more regular thing. That'd be awesome. I would be down. Especially then people can send you weird coloring pages, which would be a lot of fun. Like that could be like for your 1K follower celebration, probably late this month, early next. That's awesome. Yeah, I'd be very down for that. Yeah, I'm a week away from this birthday stream and I still don't know what I'm doing with it. So not even a week away yet. We're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days away. So I'll figure something out. But yeah, we'll be speeding FF2, of course. Okay. No, Sam, you weren't here when I pitched that I was going to play just another small section of Quest for Glory and do the slowest playthrough ever, where I play through a few hours of it every year. The Quest for Glory thing happened because I was like, we're going to do Jack in the Box. And Selena was like, no. I was like, okay. And so that was a late game decision last year. And we tend to let Selena play the games on the co-streams, because if we don't, Selena gets very bored, and I love her. But like it's got to be something that's gonna keep her engaged too. You better take notes if you're gonna do it once a year. Yeah. Sam said you missed me tell Addo earlier that for April Fools I was toying with the idea of streaming FF1. That would be very funny. I enjoyed yesterday where I don't think it was Seal, but I think you said that like to Seal, because Seal had donated so much, like, oh, you can, like I'll die a bunch of times, but you can basically tell me to do whatever. Someone joked that they should have you restart Final Fantasy years. To which I thought the funnier thing would be like if you just hit the end, if you just then started going back in reverse order. So you play like Final Fantasy Rebirth twice, and then you go back to Final, and then you just go backwards. I think that would be a fun time. Jeff, I like my sanity. No, you don't. I've seen the Hollow Knight streams. She said it'd be really cute to see you go, all right, we're going to do all my FF games in 1 year. I'm really excited again. Yeah. I don't own Rebirth / can't stream it. I think that'll change by the time you get there. You still have a lot of games to go. Because FF16 wasn't on your radar at all. No PS5 and 2 new / fancy for our stream PC. Yeah, but you're also missing the fact that you're, by all accounts, I mean, you're fitting now a Hollow Knight stream in there too. You're by all accounts still a year out from the end of that list. Thereabouts. And the other thing that's going to start happening is we're at there's going to be less adoption than past times, but I still think you're going to get a round of PS6s and a round of Xbox, whatever terrible name they come up with this time. And I at that point, PS5s will never be cheaper than when everyone's dumping them to get the new thing. And so you are flirting with still doing Final Fantasy years by the time that like the cheap PS5s that people are dumping because it's the old thing. The perfect time to collect anything from like a raw cost perspective is the zone where something's too new to be old and too old to be new. If something's too new to be old and too old to be new, it is the cheapest it'll ever be. And you get right when like everyone's like PS5, no, I want a PS6. When that's happening, PS5s will be too new to be old, which is mean to say they're too fresh in everyone's memory. There's no nostalgia push. There's no like retro push to them whatsoever. But they're also too old to be new. They're not the new shiny thing, which means that to our capitalistic culture that's very short-sighted, they are almost valueless. Sam says, not unless someone forcibly drops it in my lap. I have zero interest in all of these companies going digital only. Right, but the PS5 isn't digital only. There's a lot of disc ones out there. I would not be buying any more new game console stuff. Yeah, so the PS5 has a physical library, and you'll also have like somebody might even give you one because they're like, I'm not using this anymore. Do you want this? And it'll have no value to them because they have the PS6. Why would they need a PS5? They have a PS6, right? But also, I think more likely, Shiki says, I would like to get a PS5 with a disc drive eventually, but probably secondhand not from the store. That's what I'm saying will happen. Yeah. Somebody in your life will just be like, I'm not using this. And they're going to be so cheap. It's going to be ridiculous. Because it always happens. It's funny because like we're coming off of a pretty big bubble in comic book collecting and have people coming in going like, what do you mean this book used to be like worth $300, $500. And, I bought it for you at $3.99, and then I bought a second copy at $100, and then it was worth $500, and I felt good about myself. Now they're not selling for they're only selling for like $40, $50. What the hell? Like, it's too new to be old. It's too old to be new. It's not the new shiny thing, and it's got no nostalgia or any kind of long-term collecting value built into it. It is, and everybody that's like, I just want the next thing, and is dumping it. So supply is the highest it's ever going to be. Because production is done, but in the post-production era of this product, supply is the highest it's ever going to be, and demand is the lowest it's ever going to be. If you want to video game collect, your best thing to do is to not go out and buy a Switch 2 or wait in line for like 2 months, like we saw that one guy was doing. If game collection and game preservation is like an important hobby of yours, you should take that money that you could use to buy a Switch 2. And when people start dumping Switch stuff over the next 2 to 3 years, buy as much of it as you possibly can. And that's the true secret to like sustainable game collecting. Burger says Switch 2 and its games are just too much money. I hardly play my Switch. I'm with you. I hardly play mine either. But I think there's a lot of people in that boat too. I think I've looked further into the Switch presentation of the Switch 2, the Nintendo presentation of the Switch 2. And there is definitely people out there for which I get this as a product theoretically. I don't know that I'm that person. Granted, once they put a new Animal Crossing out, I'm probably going to want to play it. And I'm not going to want to feel left out not playing it, but I can't. I definitely enjoyed New Leaf. Was that the 3DS one more than I enjoyed the Switch one? I know people think I'm insane when I say things like that, but it's just like I did, and it's not nostalgia. I was an adult for both of those. It was just simpler. Like everything's gotten too for me and how I like to game and stuff. It's like everything's gotten a little too complicated, a little too noisy, a little too updatey. It's Sam says Switch 2 with its download keys are not worth it. The death of physical media makes me very bitter. Sorry. I don't think people are going to let it die. I think you're going to get a weird generation that's just like, what do you mean? Who cares? But there are still people in this delusional belief that these digital assets are just going to go on forever. And they're not. And the more that people lose things that they paid for, I think you're going to get people having kind of different relationships with it. But I say that, and it's, again, I just told you the most optimum way to do any kind of video game collecting, right? Like, and it's true. It holds up historically. Like if you the cheapest time to buy Nintendo 64 stuff was back when it wasn't nostalgic yet, and it was just like a thing that everybody had lying around, and it was like, oh, we're playing the GameCube now. Why would we do? There was a time where like Wii's were a dime a dozen, right? If you go right after the thing was the thing and collect it, and you're not going to get any attention on Instagram with it. You're not going to get, and everyone's going to look at you like you're crazy. But historically, that is always the time that it is best to be collecting that stuff, and people don't do it. The new thing comes out and people dump all their stuff for pennies on the dollar because they want the new thing, and so will they really care that much about a digital asset that they bought when it was the brand new thing 5 years ago, going away 5 years later? I don't know. People are pretty trained to just like, I want the new thing. Shiki said, I really like City Folk and the original, and I didn't play anything else until New Horizons. New Leaf was a lot of fun on the 3DS. I think it was like a nice halfway step between like the insanity that was New Horizons by the time they baked everything into it. And the old games. My favorite thing about New Leaf was the Street Pass functionality. Because you got to build like a room in your house that could be that had Street Pass access. And the way Street Pass worked was anytime your 3DS just like went next to somebody. So if I was like at the airport or at a con or something, and I just had my 3DS in sleep mode in my backpack, and then would sit down at the end of the day, it'd be like, here's all the here's all the 3DSs you passed. And then you can go see the one room in Animal Crossing that they've set up for you to like visit. And so you could like then go into that room, and then anything that was in that room, you could be like, oh, cool, and add that to your catalog to be able to put into your stuff. It was neat. Street Pass was really cool. Burger says once Smash comes out, I'll buy it. I see, like the last Smash was just like, I think the first time I played the newest Smash was like at not your guys' house, but like one of those houses for like Friendsgiving. And I was just like, oh fuck yeah, Smash. And I was just like, this is holy shit. It went from a game with like 30 characters to 50 characters. Now I think there's like 100 and some characters. There's so much happening on the screen. I can't keep track of it all. I feel like an old man. Sam says the corporations not give a fuck as long as people keep buying all their bad choices, though. Yeah. You said, I'm excited to see how underperforming the Switch 2 is. People are rightly furious. They are, but it's not going to be because they're going to limit the supply. I think the more interesting thing is there is a Switch 2 that is not priced as badly. That is region locked to Japan. And we've not had region locked consoles in a very long time. But that thing is completely region locked, and it's going to only read, and it's region locked to not be able to switch over to English too. It is a thing that is much more appropriately priced, and that makes me think that this is 100% a tariff-based decision. And if we don't have these tariffs going on, it's not hitting these prices that they're asking for. Because in Japan, it's not priced that, but like that thing is locked up completely. I'm sure there's a way you could go buy that Japanese one that is region locked and find a way inside of its thing to turn it into something that isn't. Because that thing is like $300 are I think it like by the time you do dollars to yen or something, it's like $330 or something, which feels like a much more appropriate price for that console. So that it is probably they're probably tariff proofing their pricing. That said, though, like I don't what sucks is like all these tariffs could go away, and like once these people know that they can make $450 and they can charge $80 for games and stuff, like, and then I don't think that they're going to go back. Also, Sam, to point out, and this is not had a lot of nuance there. I'm kind of upset we didn't cover it more extensively, their announcement, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. But the whole there's no real games thing anymore. There's a number of Switch games on the market right now that currently exist that you can go and buy in store that have a Switch case that don't have a game in them. It's not any Nintendo proper ones. It's a bunch of like third-party release stuff of just they do it, right? And it's a you open the case and there's like a download code in there. This I think it's Nintendo kind of being like, hey guys, we didn't like that. This is how we're handling that going forward. So it's not every Switch game that is doing that. It is that piece of the market is going away and being replaced with this, which is actually a better solution because that download is locked to that cart. And then, so I can still be like, Sam, I don't play this game anymore, and pop it in a mailbox and send it to you. And I can't play that game anymore because I don't have the cart. And if you lose internet connection, you can't install it. But before, it was just like literally a box with a code in it. And once you use that code, it was tied to that Switch. So this is at least Nintendo kind of putting its foot down to be like, yeah, we understand. like this is a thing that is that probably has a space in the marketplace, but we're not doing codes in a case anymore. So it's not like if you buy, for my understanding, it's not like if you buy Mario Kart or the new Donkey Kong game, that's how it's going to work. From what I understand, that is just for that piece of the market. That said, all of the consoles for a very long time have done so much online content that that's basically how things work anyways. So, it's a Smash Ultimate tier. It's going to be lit. Yeah, I don't know how you go beyond Ultimate, but Shiggy says Retroid just got me excited about finishing Metroid. I want to see it end and then play Dream Daddy. Dream Daddy's great. Fergus says Ashley, yeah. Sam said, I had to look it up. I've been on my Nintendo strike since 2023. Tears of the Kingdom was the last new game I was going to buy from them, but they were being incredibly shitty to their fans, so I swore off buying Nintendo stuff. The best part of Smash is putting people's buttons by being like, oh my gosh, it's Sephiroth from Super Smash Brothers, or any other character. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's Squall from Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, the same vibes. I didn't realize they were region locking again. Yeah, I think it's entirely because of those tariffs. You can go, it's like that thing is cheap if you get the region locked one to Japan, but you know, it's I don't read Japanese or do did you know, I found this out last night, that the original translation of Final Fantasy VI was like done and locked in, and they're like, what a beautiful game. We nailed the translation. We got it. And then they told the translation team, you guys need to cut all of this in half because you're using too many characters to fit into the everything. Because the Japanese characters take up a whole lot less space in memory and on the screen than English text. And so they had all their translation locked and then had to cut everything in half. Can you imagine that writing exercise? It's insane that game's as good as it is. Shiki said, it's like when people are like, oh my god, it's Leon from Dead by Daylight. Yeah, it's the same energy. No nuance, much old odds. Sam says, I hate that. Yeah, that's gross as fuck. I miss gaming bringing me joy. Silly English characters. You can say so much in Japanese with such little text. That's why speedrunners tend to run Japanese versions. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's probably true. Yeah, it's I cannot imagine being like, okay guys, text locked. Let's go. We should at least cover the one thing I said we were covering in the title. So let's run the latest news scroll ever. And hit some things real quick. There's also news that Shiki will be excited about, so I want to hit that too. But yeah, presumably we cover news on the show. We have a whole segment. It's called The Daily Quack. Sam says economics is news. That's fair. Let's speedrun the news. Let's hit this article because Shiki will be excited. Selena will be excited too when we sit down on Sunday night to have this information in her head. The Last of Us is coming back for a third season on HBO. It's from Andy Chalk over at PC Gamer. He says The Last of Us Season 2 doesn't hit the airwaves until April 13th, but HBO has already renewed the series for a third season. We approach Season 2 with the goal of creating something we could be proud of. Executive producer Craig Melton said, the end results have exceeded even our most ambitious goals thanks to our continued collaboration with HBO and the impeccable work of our unparalleled cast and crew. We look forward to continuing the story of The Last of Us Season 3. What's happening with I read economics in my head wrong, like economics. There is somewhere someone's writing that down to do like some, oh my gosh. So like, it feels like we're slightly leaving it a little bit, but the comic space has been real rough over the last 10 years because we're in this world right now where it's so hard to get anything made that's not some sort of IP, right? And so a lot of comic books is flooded with people that don't give a fuck about the medium, but they are just coming in to make a comic book so that then they have an IP to sell to make a movie or a TV show or whatever. And so part of that is you have to be able to like be like, oh, and this IP like has all these Google trends and stuff, right, too, and all this stuff. And so not only do you have this like onslaught of comic books that are being written by people that largely don't care about the medium, but then they have to be SEO built and ready from the ground up. So like forget fucking storytelling, right? It has to be a thing that you can like track the SEO of and track the Google trends, right? So if you're Keanu Reeves, Keanu Reeves should be able to just like walk into Netflix and be like, hi, I'm Keanu Reeves. But the funny thing about Keanu Reeves is that like John Wick's one of the biggest things in the world, but you couldn't get John Wick 1 made today. That wouldn't happen. You can go get, the fucking Kool-Aid Man movie made today, or like fucking grab a brand around it. You can get it if anything adjacently connects to IP, you can get it made. But you couldn't get John Wick made today. So he's been on this quest to get a basically Eternal Warrior, same concept as Wolverine, as the comic Eternal Warrior, as the old guard. He's been like on a quest to like get a Eternal Warrior movie starring Keanu Reeves made. It has now been diluted into like, we have this comic and there's a cartoon show coming, and it's all been in the quest of poor Keanu Reeves trying to make this movie he's been trying to make for 10, 15 years, right? why that ties into what you're saying about Economix is because that project is called Berserker. Now, if I told you Keanu Reeves is in a constantly evolving project that started as a comic book that he supposedly wrote, but I just think he was just like smoking weed in a room with Matt Kent, and Keanu was like, I don't know, I think it should be like this, and Matt Kent's like, all right, I'll do all the hard work. All right, if I told you that all that happened, and it's this thing that's about to be a Netflix cartoon show and stuff, and it's called Berserker, you could sit there and try to spell it I don't know how many times. I don't think you would ever land on how that thing is actually spelled. And it's spelled that weird way so that they have like the SEO to be like Berserker spelled this way. And so we can trend like people talking about Berserker spelled this way. That is how it is spelled, Shiki. I don't know if you looked it up or if that was a wild guess, but that is how it is spelled. Because again, if you just called it Berserker and you walked into a meeting with a Hollywood type and were like, look how excited people are about this IP, Shiki said it was a guess and I'm so proud of myself. If you walk into a meeting with those suits and it's spelled regular, you can't cite all the like. Look how much people are talking about, right? How would a dad spell something in a funny way, like a license plate, Berserker? Yeah, it's terrible, and there's so much of that in comic books because, and it cracks me up so much because it just reminds me of one of my favorite movies, That Thing You Do, with like the Oneaters. There's so much that it's just like it's visually appalling, and it's makes no story or narrative sense, but it's all to appease these fucking algorithms and suits which rule all these spaces. And then like as all this stuff makes less money, they don't understand what's happening. It's amazing. But yeah, all that to say, Last of Us, it's being renewed for season 3. I believe they have said they very much want to do 4 seasons and be done. I am hopeful that they'll be able to do that. It's a wildly popular show, so they should be. My guess, and I didn't come up with this first, it was actually Andrew who pitched this first, but my guess is that the big moment from the second game, that in a lot of ways is like the initiating action of that game. I think that happens at the end of this season. Sam said, I was visually appalling once. The glare I just got. Well, if we have time, we'll do that one. That story is just going to make Sam mad, so we'll not cover that if we don't have time to. What I put in the title, The Magic the Gathering. Let's talk about that one for a second. Magic the Gathering live action movie and TV universe officially in the works from Legendary and Hasbro. It's an IP. We need to make a thing of it. Shiki, I think so too, especially if they're going for 4 seasons. Yeah, I think 4 seasons would be perfect. This is from Rodham Rusak over at Nerdist, who says, are those chills we feel? Tingles of excitement and magic, perhaps? Unequivocally, yes. Because this latest announcement from Legendary Entertainment and Hasbro Entertainment is major, with a capital M for Magic the Gathering. Okay, buddy. I'm turning so fast into a how much are they paying you person at this point. And like, that was the most annoying shit to see just like banding about during Gamergate. But dear Lord, how can you read those 2 sentences and not think that like this person is working for these companies? Yes, it's the announcement that fans of trading card games, fantasy, and all things nerdy have long been waiting for. Legendary Entertainment and Hasbro Entertainment will partner together to create a live-action movie and television universe based on Hasbro's Magic the Gathering. Gee, it would be neat if, like, you spent the last 5 years, like, really getting people excited to care about your lore and didn't, like, just sell out your lore to the highest bidder so that corporate dudes could jerk off on a pile of money. Do you have anything to put into a movie anymore, or did you whore it all away to make Fallout cards and Final Fantasy cards and SpongeBob cards? Jesus fucking Christ. All we have to say is the super type on this Magicverse news is definitely legendary. Okay, buddy. Sam says, cover whatever you want. I don't know why all these corps are obsessed with IPs. We all IPs, UPs, we all Ps for bladder health. Yep. Recently, Deadline reported that Matt Johnson, who wrote and directed Blackberry 2023 phone documentary, Blackberry was a movie, is being eyed to direct the live-action Magic the Gathering movie. Magic the Gathering first came into being in 1993 and recently celebrated its 30th anniversary. That's right, this franchise has been around for over 3 decades. It's even Hasbro's first $1 billion brand. As the first modern trading card game, Magic paved the road for the kind of game that we now assume always existed, not to mention as a spiritual haven for nerds and lovers of fantastic realms. Magic the Gathering has built enormous amounts of community throughout its long life. Okay. Its 30 years and counting of existence, Magic the Gathering also inspired a plethora of content, including video games, comic books, and novels. Beside a long-held desire from fans to see Magic the Gathering arrive on the screens, live-action television and movie forms, we've not yet had the fortune of seeing the complex and nuanced game adapted in such a way until now. Okay. Zev Foreman, Hasbro's entertainment head of film, said, "This is an exciting and complementary partnership, uniting one of the world's most iconic brands with powerful and proven steward. Magic the Gathering has inspired decades of epic world building and creative storytelling. Oh my God. Then release cards based on that and get people excited about that shit and stop all this fucking..." I'm just becoming an angry old man. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Sam says, do you think they will send the Pinkertons out again to retrieve movie tickets they actually ship out early? The commodification of nerdiness is just like, so like we had this space, right? We had comic shops, we had movie rental places, we had these things. We had like this weird community. We had retro game stores. We had this thing that most people thought we were fucking weird for being into. But we found space and community in those places. And then during the 2010s, you had corporate synergy with this stuff, and in a way that they corporatized all of it and found a way to just fucking bring it to the masses, and the masses played with it, and now the masses are done with it. And then what we're left with on the other side of it is we lost all of the stuff that was ours and just ours. And I don't want to be like a hipster about it, but we did lose something there. And what we got left with is now these like corporate husks. It's neither it's kind of like I was talking about with COVID. It's not the pre-COVID times. It's not the COVID times. It's whatever it is after it. And it's weird. It's not the pre-corporate and commodification of nerd culture. We're no longer in the heights of that. And we're in this like post thing of it where it's like we somehow kept the corporations and lost like the little nerd churchy spaces. Sam says, Jeff, you're a hipster about so many things. I'm aware. They've said, I will never not mention the armed robbery they did anytime MTG gets brought up. Yeah. We should make a band called Corporate Huss. That's a good band name. And it's all elevator music, or however it's spelled. That's not a bad pitch. One of my favorite podcasts is Blank Check with Griffin and Newman. It's a very good movie podcast. I highly recommend. But their producer is just like a character. And just like doing really silly things that he's able to use the platform of being a producer on a very now famous like movie podcast to be able to just be like, I don't know, I wanted to try this silly thing. Every year he puts out an album called Slow Christmas. I think he's on like Slow Christmas like 4 or something, in which he goes out and he finds actual, because they have connections with this podcast and stuff now, he finds like people that you would be like, oh cool, they're on a Christmas album, to be on his album and just to do a cover song of a Christmas song, but as slow as possible. Like criminally can't listen to it slow. It's kind of amazing in concept. I kind of like the idea of Corporate Husk, and it's all elevator music. Especially if you can find another layer to make it like even dumber, of just like holy shit, Buckethead's on this, and it's just like elevator music. All right. We'll close with the story that'll piss Sam off. Ubisoft holds firm in the Crew lawsuit. You don't own your video games. This is from Nicole Carpenter at Polygon, who says Ubisoft responded to California gamers' The Crew shutdown lawsuit in late February, filing to dismiss the case. The company's lawyers argued in that filing, reviewed by Polygon, that there was no reason for players to believe they were purchasing unfettered ownership rights in the game. Ubisoft has made it clear, lawyers claimed, that when you buy a copy of The Crew, you're merely buying a limited access license. Sam said, it's cute you think MTG didn't make me mad. Sorry. Frustrated with Ubisoft's recent decision to retire the game following a notice period delineated on the product's packaging, plaintiffs apply a kitchen sink approach on behalf of a putative class of nationwide customers, alleging 8 causes of action, including violations of California's false advertising law, unfair competition law, and Consumer Illegal Remedies Act, as well as common law fraud and breach of warranty claims, Ubisoft's lawyers wrote. Ubisoft released The Crew, its open-world racing game, in 2014 and shut down its servers a decade later, in 2024, due to severe infrastructure and licensing constraints. Because The Crew was online only, it meant the game became totally unplayable when the servers were turned off. Ubisoft offered refunds to players who recently purchased the game, but lots of people weren't able to get refunds. Majority of players likely purchased the game much earlier. Throughout Ubisoft's response, the company's lawyers argued that, along with the licensing issue, that the plaintiffs don't have a case, be it because of a statute of limitations, no real cognizable injury, and what they describe as inadequate arguments. Included in the response are a few pictures of The Crew's video game packaging, presented to prove that Ubisoft has labeled at least some of its versions with the licensing note. It's long been the case with digital media that companies are licensing the game rather than selling it outright. But it's not something that's been totally obvious to all, and it's becoming a bigger issue as technology ages and games like The Crew get shut down. To mitigate the issue, Governor Gavin Newsom signed a California bill into law in 2024 to force companies to more prominently display a note that consumers are buying a license and don't technically own the game itself. On March 18th, the plaintiff responded with an amended complaint to address the issues brought up by Ubisoft. and added an additional accusation that Ubisoft is breaking the rules around the sale of gift certifications, something they argue the crew's currency could be considered. In California, gift cards can't expire, and the argument is that Ubisoft broke the law when the crew was shut down, rendered the credits expired. The plaintiff's lawyer argued that the crew's currency system meets all the requirements to be considered a gift certificate or gift card. Replying to Ubisoft's argument that the statute of limitations is up, the plaintiffs responded with their own photos of the crew's packaging, which states that the activation code for the game doesn't expire until 2099. That's an example of how Ubisoft implied that the crew would remain playable during this time and long thereafter, per the amended complaint. There was no reason to suggest the crew would shut down, the lawyer said, until 2023 when the game was announced to be shut down, so that the statute of limitations is not up. That's a good argument. Like, that's why would you... That's my favorite thing that they would say, like, well, statute of limitations. So it's like, well, did this act, the clock didn't start till you guys started saying you would do this. With the new additions and the amended complaint that brings the gamers' claims of wrongdoing up to 9 counts, they're asking the court to certify the class action lawsuit. Ubisoft has until April 29th to respond once again. Sam says Ubisoft's such an ungrateful company. On a happy note, we have around 12 Cosmos coming up so far. I don't know what that sentence means, so you'll have to elaborate. Shiki says, I can't wait to hear when Ubisoft has to sell out because their shitbag CEO dug a massive grave and left them in it. Cosmos are a kind of flower. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know enough about flowers. Like a wildflower, I love them. I'm gonna be honest about something that I'm simultaneously like saying, like, this is not a good quality. This is not a thing that is like, and man, it's a good thing that Jeff is that way, right? I've always struggled with flowers. Like, I've always been like, ooh, gardening, grow food, great. And I was always just like, what is the point to flowers? And I think that sentence is sad. Like, so I've worked to appreciate flowers, and it's still inherent work for me. And to not say sentences that are sad, like, what's the point of flowers? You can't eat them. So that's, I definitely don't know different brands of flowers. I don't know different types of flowers. Sam says you can eat some flowers. Yeah. I did all the one like type of flower I always knew other than like rose. Is chrysanthemum. Just because I really liked the book Chrysanthemum when I was a kid, the picture book where the girl has the name Chrysanthemum and doesn't like it. That would be most plants that I know. I can tell you that, hey, have you ever heard of the FLS plant? Kingsfoil, it's a weed. I know that. And that it'll help to slow the poison. I don't even know if that exists in real life or just in Middle Earth, but I know that. That's all up here. Good job, Jeff Wise. I am a fount of useless information and always have been. So as this Thursday show develops, this would be the point where normally we would be pivoting to be like, and we're going to play some games. We're going to hang out. Because we have to put that 64 stream somewhere because we need to finish it out. There's work there to be done. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to let my voice rest, especially because we have a stream again tonight. So we'll be live tonight from 6 to 10 is what's on the books. Playing and hopefully getting closer to finishing out Resident Evil 8. Go rest your mouth. I will. So we will also be live Saturday night on Whatnot. If y'all could do me a favor and click through there, that'd be super helpful. You don't have to ever buy comics from us, but if you wanted a thing where you could be like, I'd like to poke my head in there and say hi when they're doing a comic book stream, that's a thing you could do, and it doesn't involve Facebook. So that has usernames and everything, much like Twitch. I think you have to put your real information in there, but people don't see that till they're like shipping you stuff. It'll also, that link will give you 15 free bucks to buy from us or buy from other people. And if you're like, gosh, like I love Jeff and Selena, but I don't ever need a comic book, that's a spot you could go and buy things on there. And by clicking through, it give you $15 free to buy from other people. And it's like, especially the retro video game scene on Whatnot is very good. And often that's where I found things a lot cheaper than elsewhere in the world. You have to catch the live shows though. Because the just straight up listings are often a little higher than other places. But then when you go in the live shows, people will be like, we're starting this at $2, and they're, hoping it'll hit 20. But like I've gotten some really good, especially Japanese language retro video games that way. So please consider checking that out. The Sam said, have a lovely day. I will have a lovely day. I'm going to be working on this YouTube. Please go over there and subscribe. I'm going to be putting work into it, to getting the last of the My Side playthrough up, and then getting Selena's first playthrough of Last of Us 2 up, whilst that's going to be on everybody's minds. So that's going to be what I'm going to be working on today after I hang up my hat here and not talking at all to rest. So please check that out. Also, let me see if I can find the link to the event on Facebook. Sorry, I will be done pitching in a second. Sorry that the plug section is getting long. Let me see. Yeah, see you later too. We have coming up one of our biggest events of the year. So if you're at all adjacent to our comic shop, please consider that's just the picture. Where's the event? Share. Copy link. There in Twitch, I just put the link to the event. If you can at all consider heading in for that, it's one of our biggest days of the year. It's Free Comic Book Day. If you can't and you're not geographically near us in the slightest, I get it. Go other stores. It's a big day. Free Comic Book Day is the time to find the local comic shops around you and go in, get the free books. And it's in the way that I was growing up in church. There was people that went to church every week, and then there was Easter and Christmas Christians that just went on Easter and Christmas, right? This is our Easter or Christmas. Like this is the time to go in and see your local comic shop, see that it exists, get the comics, and then we have to pay for those comics. So like if you could throw a buck or two while you're in there. But it's every store does a little different. But most stores do like big sales, do big things. It's our biggest day of the year. Please consider coming down if you can. And even if you can't, sharing that stuff around. And then look up where the closest local comic shop is to you. And make a trip in that day and give them a little love. Because There, especially, I would say, especially if it's not a place owned by an old angry white man. There's a lot of like comic shops that are struggling right now that are owned by cool queer young people, often people of color, that need your love and support. They're fighting the good fight. And yeah, go check them out and and spread some love on that day. It happens every year, first Saturday in May. So please check that out. We have raid messages. They look like this and this. And let's see who we can go say hi to today. Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go because I would love either, you know, Addo or Cap, but there's a guy who's doing Sam and I's thing of playing through every Final Fantasy who we're gonna head there because he's really early on in all this stuff. Oftentimes I'm the first or second viewer in there. He's on Final Fantasy 3 now. So let's head over there and say hello. Pretty new to meeting this person, but I've enjoyed my time in there so far. So, but yeah, let's go say hi. Please be kind to our friends, and we'll be back later tonight. Doing some Resident Evil 8. So, appreciate you all. Be honest, be kind, be useful. Live a good fucking life. Bye.